The Making of Karateka is the first in the Gold Master series from Digital Eclipse. They were kind enough to give me a press key for what appears to be the start of a very fantastic series restoring classic games and giving us a almost museum quality restoration. The Making of Karateka is built as more of a complete package of kind of a museum piece rather than just an individual game or games in this respect. First, you get an entire kind of timeline / documentary about the creation of Karateka and kind of the history of Jordan Mechner, how he got started with games, his life, and what led to him creating Karateka and his unreleased game, Death Bounce. The commentary and the documentary here is really well done, and admittedly this is probably not going to be the most fascinating thing for everyone watching this, but if you have any interest in kind of the history of video games, especially the history of a classic game like Karateka, then it's definitely a must watch, and there is a lot to this. This is not just like a 5-minute thing and it's over. There are multiple videos, interviews, diagrams, descriptions, and a lot that goes into building the story of the game. If you're interested in playing Karateka, there are multiple versions of the game. You have all the classic versions from the original to the ports that are released on various classic consoles. There is also a remastered version developed by Digital Eclipse that not only gives us a very fluid frame rate, but also adds in optional content or cut content that was not in the original. You also get Death Bounce. This was Jordan Mechner's unreleased game, and it does feel like a little bit of like ahead of its time in terms of being like an evolution on the Asteroids formula. And I could see something like this, like even like at its basic level, perhaps like evolving into a more complete game if you ever had the chance to finish it. Now, with the different versions of Karateka, this review is definitely not going to be going into like super detail about whether or not Karateka holds up after over, I guess we're at almost like 40 years now, and I get to feel really old since this game was released. The remastered version works pretty well. I think I did run into a few bugs. Even I can break classic games no matter what. But the package of the Making of Karateka, again, this is not designed simply to exist to let you play Karateka by itself. And it's really more about the history of the game and the history of everything that's here. And to me, it really does give us a good sign for how to evolve the idea of restoring games and kind of be able to show them off to the modern era. In terms of the gameplay itself, Karateka is definitely a fascinating one, and you can definitely see kind of the weight of the history of this game as you play it and watch the documentary. It does surprisingly hold up in a way of being almost like a cinematic fighting game, and this is one of the things that was described during one of the documentaries and commentary tracks. While it is certainly not going to excite you if you are currently playing Street Fighter 6 or Mortal Kombat 1, again, for a game released in the 80s, you can see how far ahead Jordan was in terms of designing a game with story, cutscenes, and of course, the original music by his father. And I certainly want this to succeed because I want to see more of this Golden Master series. Maybe in my fever dreams we'll get a Golden Master series on Nintendo games. I know that was something that we talked about in our interview with Chris Kohler. So this is going to be a kind of shortened review because again, this is more or less about introducing everyone to the package rather than giving a concrete and definitive review on Karateka itself. If I had any issues with the collection in terms of packaging and performance, like I said, I did run into a few bugs or a few like menuing didn't seem to work right after like restarting several times in the remastered. But all in all, this is again something that it's not going to be for everyone watching this. But if you are someone who loves game preservation and the history of game design in the industry, this is certainly going to be one worth picking up. And again, I hope that this is the start of many more of this from Digital Eclipse. And if you want to catch the full interview I did with Chris about why he decided to make the Gold Master series and kind of what led to them focusing on Chronica as their first one, there'll be a link to that in the description down below. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on Game Wisdom, where you some of the art and science of games.